What's up, everyone? This is Gail Dudley, and it is time for the News in Motion podcast. Yes, we have officially changed our name from the Namosa Fridays, and Namosa always stood for the NIM, stood for News in Motion. We decided to actually call it by its name instead of saying Namosa Friday. So we are the News in Motion podcast. If you ever tune in Monday through Thursday, you have an opportunity to see the live video version of News in Motion. That happens on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/news in motion, or on my personal LinkedIn, which is Gail Dudley, or on my personal YouTube, which is youtube.com/Gail Dudley. And of course, y'all, that is spelled GAIL, D as in David, U, D as in David, LEY. We live stream Monday through Thursday on the video at 7:25 a.m. You can also catch it on many of the podcast platforms to hear the audio. But listen, we want you to tune in today because we have an amazing guest, Attorney Shahara Wright. She's going to talk about contracts done right in your business. And when I speak of business, I'm also including your side hustle. I'm including if you are a solopreneur or an entrepreneur or small business. We miss, especially, and hear me, I want y'all to hear me, and this is not a slam to the Black and Brown community because I am a part of that community, but oftentimes we want to jump into the business aspect of running our business, not considering the resources and the tools we need to have a successful business. So here at News in Motion, it is my joy, it is a passion of mine to make sure that I am bringing people onto the broadcast that will help you put some of these tools in place, tools and resources in place. So today we do have Attorney Shahara Wright, who's going to be joining us. Now, what I would like for you all to do before we go to the interview, I want you to think about your business, your nonprofit, your side hustle, whatever it is, and think about the tools and resources you have. What kind of contracts do you have? Are you shy? Do you shy away from having contracts with businesses or other people who you may consider friends or family? Even with that, you all, we have to have the proper documentation and contracts to go along with what it is that we're doing. The other thing I want to share with you, and I think this is so important, and I talk about this with my publishing clients and my self-publishing authors. Even when you're doing a focus group, you want to have those non-disclosure agreements signed. You want to have those signed. And Attorney Shahara Wright is going to talk about all of that during today's News in Motion podcast. I want you to tune in. I want you to grab your pen and paper and get ready to take some notes. Oh, y'all. All right, y'all, Black lawmakers. And then we're getting ready to go to our guest. So get your questions ready. Again, share this video wherever you're viewing it, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's YouTube, or Facebook during the stream. Now on audio, I need y'all to pay attention to the road. Yep, I need you to stay focused on the road. But if you want to call up somebody and you have Bluetooth and you can tell your phone to call somebody, tell them to chime in. Y'all, this Black History Month, we are really focused on entrepreneurship. We are focused on making sure you have the tools and the resources that you need to launch. So many small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, we miss some of the major documents we need. And we have someone who's coming on today to talk about those things. My brother says, that's his name is Louis Pryor. That is my biological brother. He says, guess I found out about having a head injury. I won't tell his story, but y'all know we prayed for him when he was having some major brain surgery. Y'all know that, so I'll share that much. He used to play football, just so much there. So thank you for even putting that in the chat. I appreciate you, brother. Cherie says, my daughter hit her head last week and it was determined she had a concussion. Wow, we hope she is recovering. So y'all, you have to really, please, if you bump anything they're saying from shoulder up, don't just go to sleep. Contact your PCP. All right, y'all. So Black lawmakers to Justice Department. Do something. They're saying do so. This is a direct quote. Do something about voter restrictions. More than 40 members of the Congressional Black Caucus urged Attorney General Merrick Garland to be relentless in challenging state law restricting voting rights. The lawmaker said in the letter that the future of democracy is at stake. Highlighting a GOP-led laws have disproportionately disenfranchised Black voters since the 2020 election. They say, and I quote, our message is simple. Be creative, be relentless, be unapologetic in your commitment to do whatever it takes to ensure that every American has their vote counted. And that is HuffPost that is reporting. I want to say this. You can go to whenweallvote.org. You can go to vote.gov. You can go to usa.gov. If you have not registered to vote, please register to vote. If you are a registered voter, y'all know what I do every month. I'm always checking my voter registration. So that is the headline news for today. Now it's time for me to bring in my guest. Let me read her bio. Not all of it, but some of it. Attorney Shahara Wright. Is the award-winning author and of From Entrepreneur to CEO. And she's the creator of CEO Collaboration Circle, Single Mom CEO, and Contracts Done Right, using her last name, WRIGHT. I love that. When you can brand something like that, that is amazing. As a business law attorney and a small business trainer, her strategies and proven methodologies have transformed the way small business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEO reduce legal liabilities and increase their bottom line. Hello, somebody. Attorney Shahara Wright founded the Wright Firm PLLC, over 20 years ago when she couldn't find a law firm that matched her schedule as a single mom. From a young age, she knew it was possible for entrepreneurs, especially single moms, to build a successful business their way. After that humble start, Attorney Shahara quickly developed the CEO Effect LLC to help CEOs of small and mid-sized companies enhance operations and execute strategic change. She hosts various interview series bring need to know information to business owners. Y'all, I can go on and on and on, but I don't want to read this long, amazing bio. Let me pull out a few more things. She's been in the Houstonia magazine, top lawyer of 2021 and 2022. She shares her expertise with other lawyers and organizations. She serves as a board member of Child Care Council of Greater Houston. She's a member of LISC Houston Local Advisory Committee. Y'all, she's just a bomb.com. I'm going to say it like that. She graduated from Texas Tech School of Law in 1998 and Hampton University in 1995. Now, my daughter graduated from Howard University, but I think y'all both say HU, you know, whatever that is. But there it is. So let's bring on Attorney Shahara Wright to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you are joining us today. And y'all, listen, she's in Texas, so they're an hour behind. So she got up mighty early.
Yes.
Well, thank you. We're going to jump right in if that's okay. Tell us, there's so many entrepreneurs that view News in Motion. We do different workshops and webinars and segments and things like that. But can you please talk to us about the importance of contracts when it comes to business? I think so many of us just do things because we're happy to do them, not thinking about the contract. So can you start there and talk about the importance of having contracts in our business, even if we are a solopreneur or have a side hustle?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think most people understand that it's important. What they don't really understand is having it written and making sure that it's very clear and concise. So a lot of times what I tell people is that, misunderstandings happen, right? You play that game of telephone where you tell somebody something and somebody else tells the other person that person, and five people later it's completely changed from what you originally said. Well, that's why we have written contracts, right? You want to have it very clear and spelled out so that no one is confused about what's happening. So contracts in general, just written contracts in general, are very, very important so that no one gets confused about what it is that they're supposed to do and why they're supposed to be doing it and when they're supposed to be doing it. So that's really important. And I think a lot of times for businesses starting out, they don't know what contracts they really need, what's really important, where to get these contracts. So I usually tell people, there's at least 5 contracts that are very important. Some are in this day of electronic age, you're going to have to be able to put those on web stuff on the web and have electronic signatures and things like that. So one of the things you want to have is you want to make sure that you have a service agreement between you and your clients, or and you and you and your vendors if you have vendors. So you want to make sure you have an agreement about that. I think there's another couple of contracts that you want to make sure that you have, and I call them these web policies. There's 3 that I usually recommend. One, of course, is your privacy policy, which you usually have to have to be able to do business with a lot of third party vendors, the privacy policies, your terms of use, your web use. That's really important for you to have to really understand for people that when they go to your website, they understand what they can and can't do, how they can and can't use your website. And then the third one I usually call is kind of your sales policy, your return policies. What happens when you purchase something or you ask for a return, those kinds of things, how credit card information is used. Sometimes it's in your privacy policy, but you want to have a policy about those things. So those are your 3 web policies that you really want to have to make sure that your business is protected as much as possible. So those are some things you want.
Love that. That was excellent. Now, I've shared, as I said earlier, I shared on this platform the importance of having non-disclosure agreements within business conversations with different people. As a publishing coach myself, I'm always telling publishers and other authors, before you have a focus group, make sure they sign the non-disclosure agreement. I was looking on your website the other day and see that you say that there is a difference between a non-compete, non-solicitation, and non-disclosure agreements. And why? So my question is, why would someone have that? And again, looking at solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, side hustles, whatever, what's the importance behind that? So we can really educate our viewers as to why we must follow these steps. Please speak to that. Help me.
Sure. So I'll start with the non-solicitation. Really, the non-solicitation usually isn't a contract by itself, but it's a term that you usually have within contracts, which is you usually have those with your vendors or someone there that's saying that you're not going to solicit like clients and customers or vendors away from your business to somebody else's business. So I like to kind of use that, like if you have VAs, virtual assistants,
Mhm.
and they have access to your clients and they have access to your information and how you do business, that you have this non-solicitation clause that's within the contract that says, hey, you're getting access to a lot of information. We're going to agree that you're not going to contact my clients outside and offer them business. You're not going to contact my employees, those kinds of things, to try to get them away from me to you or add to your business. It's really
Wow.
that. A non-compete, I think a lot of people know what a non-compete is, but they don't understand how it's used. And also that not all states allow non-competes. Non-compete agreements. So you have to really be careful because not all states allow it. And then lots of states have rules around non-competes. But non-competes really has to do with, as they sound, competing business, competing services, things that you're taking something away from one company to go to another and do. So in a solopreneur kind of business sense, a lot of times you'll have non-competes. If you're training people, you're giving a lot of training into something that you're doing, you don't want them to go set up shop, get all the training from you and then go set up shop, down the street and take all your customers, right? So that's kind of that non-compete kind of things. Sometimes employees and employers do it, That's a little bit more nuanced because there's definitely rules in place about restricting someone's right to work. Usually with these non-competes, you have requirements with the term, how long those can be in place, how far you have a radius. You can't say anywhere in the United States, if you're not really working everywhere in the United States. If you got a food truck, in Ohio, you can't say that you can't have a food truck in California, those kinds of things. You have to make sure that you give some protection there. And then there has to be a real reason to have a non-compete. You can't just give blanket out non-competes to any and everybody that you come in contact with. So those are some of the things. And then lastly, I know that you really wanted to talk about this one, which is non-disclosure agreements, which again, very good agreements to have when they're done correctly, which is not to disclose confidential information. Really is just to ensure that confidential information is not disclosed. That doesn't mean that people can't talk about you, can't talk about the business, can't say anything. Sometimes people try to use these NDAs as a gag order, and that's not really what they're supposed to be doing. It's really to protect confidential information. So if you're not keeping your information confidential, then there's no violation of the NDA because the information wasn't confidential in the first place. So it's very important that when you have NDAs, that the information that you are providing or giving within scope is truly confidential, and that you're not, blasting it all over the place yourself. Then you've done yourself a disservice. And then just the last thing I wanted to say really quick about NDAs is kind of the same thing about non-competes, that you just don't want to hand them out to any and everybody you come in contact with. There really should be some purpose of why you have, a confidentiality agreement in place.
Wow, thank you. Woo, that was a whole lot. Now listen,
I know.
I hope everyone's paying attention because she just gave us some free information, okay? That you just can't get everywhere. But let me ask this, because as you were talking about that, because I do what I do, I'm always sending, like with publishing authors, self-publishing authors or other publishers, I'm always sending them like, this is a chart for social media, or this is how you do your blogging, and I put on the bottom of it, which is true because I use an attorney here in Ohio. I give the copyright date, and then in the email or whatever, and on their contract, it says for them not to share. Well, a couple years ago, someone did all that. They went through the program to get all the information and to launch their business. Well, they no longer have that business because my attorney went after them, and it was shut down. But it was so, sat back and said, wow, if I did not have any of those things in place, I would have been in trouble. So the importance of that, and can you share with our audience that we have to invest in ourselves, which means we have to pay the people to help us develop these things, because it can hit us in a worse way down the road. Can you speak to that? Because so many people hear the price of getting things like this done and like, oh, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to just wing it. Or I'm going to send myself in the mail something in the envelope and keep it sealed. Y'all know about that. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, I understand and I appreciate that legal services can be expensive. I don't consider myself a cheap lawyer at all by any means.
And you
I know that
be.
and so I understand that my services can be very expensive for depending upon where you are. But I think that there's lawyers at all levels. There's access at all levels. And I think if you should at least be willing and able to pay for one hour consult, right? So, that can range anywhere, but depending upon, the attorney, from $75 to, $575, right? It could be a range just depending on who you're dealing with and who you're talking about and the specialty. So I think it's very, very, very important to just be able to, have some money saved for a consult. I think I definitely believe in professional services. So, I'm an attorney. I believe in, having CPAs that you can talk to and having those around, financial planners, those kinds of things that you want to be able to have these conversations. A lot of time with entrepreneurs, I don't want to, not coaches or marketing people. I believe in them. I have them myself. But you spend all your money there and you leave no reserve for the people that are dealing with your back office, right? So you got to not think about not only just having your coaches, not only just paying your marketing people, but you also need to be able to pay your attorneys, your CPAs, those kinds of things, because they help you build a sustainable business that's going to allow you to stay in business. And so that is really important when you're thinking about how you're doing your budget, where you allocate your money. You want to have those things available for yourself.
Thank you so much for that. How can someone reach you? How can they contact you? I know we have your website, so Isaiah, if you can put a website up here, but can tell us how we can contact you through the website or other ways, and also tell us about your book and how we can get a copy.
Sure. So the best way to reach me is social media is great. You can go. I'm more of a Facebook person, y'all, and LinkedIn. So you can go to Facebook, The Wright Lawyer. That's TheWrightLawyer. So on Facebook, The Wright Lawyer. On LinkedIn, The Wright Lawyer. On Instagram, it's The Real Wright Lawyer. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm posting on Instagram, but I am not an Instagram guru. So I don't ask me to do too many complicated things like DM on Instagram, because it gets confusing. So definitely those are the best places to come there. I put a lot of information out on a daily basis about different things, contracts, and trademarks and all that kind of stuff. So I talk about a lot of different things. So it's a really great place to go and get information there. My book is called From Entrepreneur to CEO. You can find it on Amazon. And it really is just kind of what we've been talking about, just understanding how important it is to kind of go from that, always in a fire entrepreneur, just kind of jumping out and jumping out the plane and, building a parachute on the way down, right? As opposed to really thinking about what you're doing prior to jumping out the plane. So it's really about that, and talking about these various different issues that I believe that every entrepreneur should consider.
Latrice Jones asks, can some of these business expenses be written off?
Yes, of course. These are all business expenses. When you're talking about hiring an attorney, obviously, that's a business expense, and you can definitely have those written off for sure.
Okay, great, great, great. Lori Wallace says sometimes people will choose not to have a contract with a friend because of the relationship. That can end really bad. I'm missing it somewhere. Wait a minute. Any suggestions on how to, I don't know what that says, broach that situation for those timid business approaching the subject with friends?
Listen, I always tell people will fight over $5. I've seen it. So you definitely have a contract, whether you grew up in the crib together, your best friends. I make my married clients have contracts between each other. You always do that. And it's not just between for the individuals, right? Like, everybody says, well, that's my friend. I don't think that they would do, mess around or do this. And it's not that people have bad intentions, right? Like, it's not that somebody's trying to screw you over. It's just that their viewpoint about what's supposed to happen and your viewpoint about what's supposed to happen doesn't always match. So when you have written agreements, you're very clear, and you're not guessing or assuming about what's supposed to happen and when it's supposed to happen. I'm guilty too. Sometimes I don't always have written contracts like I'm supposed to, and then I'm kicking myself and I'm like, I should have had that in writing, because we weren't on the same page about what we thought should be happening.
Right. I so agree. I've had those like, why did I do that moment? For sure. Before you go, can you please talk about contracts done right? I know we shared a little bit in the green room, and I'm like all into that. Like, how do I need to become a part of this? Can you speak
Yes.
to that, please, to share with us?
Yes, so Contract Done Right is a new platform that I'm coming out with really soon. So you guys can go there, or you can definitely message me and say if you want more information, and we'll notify you when Contracts Done Right is up. But it's a business template and legal contracts that are available, forms. So for those of you that can't afford to have an attorney do custom drafted contracts, these are templates that are there for you, drafted by me, that I've created to have entrepreneurs just like yourself to be able to access. They're affordable. They're available for you to be able to purchase, to download. You can change them how you need to. And then there have forms there that can give you some guidance about what you need to have. And so it makes it a lot easier, simpler for you to be able to access these contracts. So we hope to have it launched extremely soon. I'm hoping in the next week or two. So again, if you're very interested, you can go there. There's a place where you can put in your information, so you can have information about launch, or just make sure you reach out to me on social media, and I'll make sure that you get notified.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you ready to raise awareness of your brand, product, or service? Gail, the host of News in Motion, is an influencer who brings attention to every product she mentions. She started out with a few followers and is growing her base daily. Listeners tune in Monday through Friday from around the U.S. and beyond. Let Gail help you expand and connect with new customers from all around. To get your brand, product, or services mentioned on her shows, just contact info.gaildudley@gmail.com to request her media deck. Catch Gail each weekday on News in Motion on Facebook Live at facebook.com/newsinmotion or her YouTube at youtube.com/Gail Dudley. You can also follow Gail on Instagram and Twitter at Gail Dudley and visit her website, www.gaildudley.com. Until next week, as Gail always signs off, stay well and remember to make some moves.